So most AI videos still look fake, but every once in a while you'll see one that genuinely makes you question whether it was filmed or generated. And those are the type of results I've been working towards for the past year. Because realism isn't just about the prompts or the models, it's about understanding what our brains associate with realism in the first place. Subconsciously, our brains pick up on a lot of stuff that we can't explain, like lighting, motion, texture, depth, imperfections, highlight roll-off. The list goes on. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to get realistic results like this from start to finish. Let's get into it. But also, we're giving away an entire free year of an AI Artlist subscription. All you have to do is comment what you found most helpful in this video. Let's get back to it. So part one, I'm sure you've heard this, but a realistic video starts with the image. In my opinion, you should be spending about 80% of your time on locking down the look of your images. This is the foundation on which your videos are built from. If you have an artificial image, you're gonna get artificial video results. But when it comes to making realistic AI images, I think you have 4 core fundamentals: lighting, depth, texture, and color. But one of the biggest things to remember is don't try to create the perfect image. Real footage is imperfect. Real cameras have softness, shadow lose detail, highlights bloom, skin has texture, light falls off. And if you don't prompt it, AI usually just tries to make everything too clean, too bright, too perfect. And that's often what makes it feel fake. So let's go over lighting. People always say you need good lighting, but what does that actually mean? Because lighting is one of the most complicated parts of filmmaking. It can take hours and hours just to set up a single scene. You're dealing with angles, directions, diffusion, haze, color temperature, the list goes on. So even doing basic research on cinematic lighting can help immensely. But here are just some useful tips that have helped me in the past. One of the easiest ways to add depth and realism is to shoot from the shadow side of the face. And another tip is to prompt it to bring down the overall exposure. AI tends to make images overly bright, but sometimes the background should be dark. Sometimes the shadows should be crushed. This is what gives it mood. This is what gives it character. But here are some prompting keywords if you want to pause and look at them. But let's move on to the next fundamental. Depth. Depth is basically what keeps an image from feeling flat. Think about it in layers. You should have a foreground, a midground, and a background. But one of my favorite things to do to add depth is to add atmosphere. When shooting cinematic scenes on my camera, I like to add cinematic haze or use a fog machine. But especially adding this into AI images, I always find it makes a more realistic image. So here's one image without haze, and here's one with haze. So here are some prompt keywords I'm going to leave up on the screen. You can pause if you want. But let's move on to the next fundamental, which is texture. Arguably one of the most important things when it comes to realism, because AI notoriously smooths out texture or does some weird artifacting that our brain immediately picks up on. So when prompting for skin textures, you want to be very specific. You want to ask for visible skin textures, subtle pores, slight imperfections, natural facial detail, or even uneven skin tones. Those little imperfections are what make a face feel human. And the next one is film softness, because real cinema isn't perfectly sharp. Cinema cameras and lenses have a certain softness to them. Highlights bloom a little, edges aren't digitally crispy, skin feels detailed but not harsh. And that's one of those subtle things that can make an image feel fake even if you can't explain why. And here are some more prompt ideas. You can pause if you want to. But before we move on, if you guys are interested in all things AI, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to always stay updated. Let's get back into it. But now let's move on to the last fundamental, color. Now, color is what gives the image intention. I would say this rule is more of a cinematic rule more than a realism, because you can have an oversaturated image that still looks real. So don't just ask for cinematic colors, have intentional color palettes. The palette should match the emotion of the scene. Now, these are just quick details, basic things to understand, but I highly recommend that you go and do more research into the intricate details of these fundamentals, because it'll ultimately help your images look more cinematic, more realistic, and you'll just get overall better images. So here is the essential workflow. I use references to generate a character, and then I iterate and refine until you have an ultra realistic image, and then we're going to use that image to build out the other scenes. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get references. I'd like to use the stock catalog from Artlist, my own footage or old generations that I like. For today, I'm going to be using this generation that I made in the past, and I created it with the same workflow that we'll be doing today. So we're going to bring that into the Artlist toolkit and type in our prompt. And everyone likes to start with a super complicated prompt, but as you can see here, I just kept it very simple without much visual detail because this ensures that the detail of the reference photo is matched better. But once we get our results, we'll use our knowledge to identify what the image needs and build from there. As you can see here, we got our images and already they look pretty good. As you can see, it brought in some details from the reference images, but that's okay because we can just edit those out. So if we go to the edit tab, and I basically just said, remove the facial markings, add subtle fading tattoos to his face, and make his hair medium length and slip back. So here are the characters now with those edits. I actually really like this one. Super unique character. I think it removes some of the contrast and some details from his face so we can add those back in. But also another reason I like to have so much haze in the shot. It might look a little bit different for people, but I think in post it allows me to color grade and be able to adjust the scene a little bit more. So say I wanted to lift up the shadows, adjust contrast, or anything like that, I would be able to do that a lot better with this image rather than one with so much contrast already baked in. Or you could prompt it like I did here. And so I said more subtle skin texture, subtle pores, scars, lower overall exposure of the scene like a horror movie. So this one looks pretty good, or we have the option of color grading, but I mean, this is pretty much the process that I like to take for images. But once you generate images that are super realistic, you can continue to use those to get realistic results. But this just really shows the importance of like reference images, especially with AI, instead of it having to guess. Like if I took this image and let's say reverse engineered the prompt through ChatGPT and brought that back in without a reference image, this is what the image looks like nowhere close to the realism. So it's like having good references that you've built in the past or using your own footage. It has more real details to pull from to make something more realistic. But now that we have our base image, we're gonna use this to generate the rest of the images, and then we'll get into prompting for animation and how to get more realistic results with that. So we have all of our shots, and in my opinion, they look pretty realistic. I mean, we have the film softness and the haze, some subtle skin textures. They aren't overly bright. They have cinematic lighting, and nothing is screaming AI to my brain. And that's usually the litmus test of whether I move on or not. But realistic images are only the half of it. Once you start making the images move, that's where a completely new challenge comes in. But the fastest and easiest way to maintain realism is to minimize your camera movements to slow movements. Slow movements are a great way to maintain detail in your images. But when you get into the faster and bigger camera movements, you lose detail, which isn't bad because this happens in real film with motion blur. And so when you're prompting, you just want to make sure you include motion blur, and you have two options. You can try and prompt for motion blur. Cdance does pretty good with motion blur, or you can do it in post with something like After Effects and CC Force Motion Blur. But let's quickly go over animating these scenes. When prompting a subject, we want to focus on 4 things. So we want camera movement, motion blur, emotion, and the action. And I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but you need to understand the current limitations of AI to achieve the best results. If you're constantly trying to achieve results outside of the capabilities of these models, you're always going to get bad results and waste credits. So I think the first one will be this one right here, and then we can just hit video on the bottom right. All right, so this is the prompt that I typed in. You can pause if you want to, but it's super simple, literally just focusing on a few of those things. And then we're gonna hit generate. And we're gonna do this for most of the beginning scenes, and then we'll get into the more complex one. And I'm gonna show you guys later on in the video how to make this look even better and more realistic in post by adding things like motion blur, grain, adjusting the levels. But here is a simple tip for you. For action shots, let's take this one for example. It's better to have the motion blur in the image rather than trying to prompt that later on and have it added. So this is what I prompted. You could pause if you want. We're gonna hit generate, but then we're gonna see if we need to make any adjustments or any problems that we run into with this. Okay, and this is what we got for the car shot. That's pretty good. All right, cool. So I generated a few more times and I got some pretty good results, little things that I can pull from here and there. And then I'm just gonna turn it into like a micro sequence, but I'm gonna take these into my editor and show you a few tips on how to make these look more realistic. I'm in DaVinci, but this will work pretty much in any editing software. But if you look right here, this is the before, here is the after. Before and after. So if you're in DaVinci, you can literally just go up to the effects panel on the top right here, and you can just type in film look creator, and you drag that over to your node. And then we're gonna select cinematic. And you can adjust any settings that you want. I like to turn up the grain a little bit and sometimes some film softness, but if you look right here, it's already pretty cinematic and looks pretty good. But anyways, I'm gonna do some sound design. I'm gonna edit it together, and that's how I got this.
The road doesn't care who I was, what I've done, or what follows me. That's why I keep coming back.
Now that we've gone over that sequence, let's go over some other techniques to get realistic videos. But another big giveaway of AI that I always hear people talking about is human movement. That includes things like body language, emotions, physics, things like that. And that's where tools like Kling 3.0 motion control and even using video references inside of Dance 2.0 can be super useful. But if you guys are interested, I did an entire breakdown on Kling 3.0 motion control. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested. And as you can see here, these tools are super useful with more complex movements. It preserves body language, subtle weight shifts, physics, but it's also really great for dialogue shots because it'll match your emotion, your lips, your movement, everything. It's using your own performance instead of just generating one. But AI is improving insanely fast. I mean, I got this from Dance from just a few generations. Sorry for the jump scare, but in my opinion, those emotions and the movements all looked super realistic to me. And it's only gonna continue to get better from this point on. But maybe you're not interested in fully generated AI videos, and that's totally fine. A lot of these rules still apply to things in hybrid AI workflows. So using AI to generate transitions between your real footage. It's actually using your footage, your colors, everything to generate these transitions. These transitions would normally take me hours, but now I can do them within a few minutes. You can use them for VFX on top of your real footage if you don't have the money to hire a VFX artist or have the time to do it yourself. And you can even add movement to your static shots. I mean, there is a bunch of uses to use AI to elevate your filmmaking. I mean, I could do an entire video on this, so if you guys are interested, let me know if you want to see that in the comments. But anyways, I hope you guys found this video helpful. I hope you can take this information and continue to experiment, continue to learn, and hopefully it'll be a better starting point for you to get more realistic photos and videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.